Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, all the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Good evening. My name is Russell Brooks, tonight's host of Inside Scoop. Tonight's program focuses on Arlington County and how it is coping with the myriad challenges facing our Northern Virginia communities. I am joined by Arlington County Board Member Julius D. Spain Sr. Mr. Spain, welcome to Inside Scoop.
Thank you, Russell. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You're relatively new to the county board. You've reached a little over 100 days in office.
Yes.
How is it going?
I'm loving every minute of it. I got thrown into the mix a little bit, started January 1st, and we just went through a very tough budget cycle a few weeks ago, but every day I get up anxious and ready to go and do the work of those individuals, our citizens in Arlington. So a lot of adventure, still some learning going on, but I bring a lot of years of experience to the table.
Speaking of that learning, has anything surprised you?
Well, what has surprised me is the federal administration. We can start there. We have had to really pivot and look closely at our services and programs and the effects of what's going on nationally, how it's going to affect and how it's been affecting Arlington County and our citizens and businesses, quite frankly.
Speaking of that and the changes in the federal government's policy, one of those challenges that you face has to be the number of layoffs by the federal employees or contractors, et cetera, in your community. Specifically, how is that situation affecting Arlington County?
Well, let me say this. The situation is one that every day brings forward significant challenges. We have about 25,000 federal employees and contractors who reside in Arlington. Again, that is not including our businesses as well, but they have been greatly affected by current policies coming out of the White House and the Doge. So seriously enough that we've had to pivot and put forward some programming in Arlington to help aid and assist those in need. And the county board is ready to help our folks in need here in Arlington.
Can you describe what type of support the county is providing?
Yeah, great question. We have rolled out some, in partnership with other organizations, some hiring programs. We've also had some behavioral and mental health programming to help folks, resume services. The Arlington County government has a number of job vacancies that we had, and we're continuing to kind of put that out as well in different mediums. We know there's a large market of federal employees and contractors who are seeking work. So just doing more to show up in places that folks need to hear us and see us and let them know we're here for them.
Has the county estimated how the situation will affect the county's budget, both its revenues as well as its outlays?
Right. So we just passed in Arlington, as public news, a $1.69 billion budget. We did not raise the property tax at all this year. We're one of the few jurisdictions in the region to do that. And we did that in this budget cycle, trying to keep the human and factor and also the social structure programs in place for our people. So we have definitely did what we had to do. The budget was right size. We did not, again, increase the taxes, but we took a very measured and methodical approach to it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the property tax. When that was originally raised, I read that you opposed advertising.
I did.
The proposed increase.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was considered.
It was.
But what was your thinking in opposing it from being advertised?
Right. Coming onto the board, it was kind of thrown in my plate. New budget cycle. Looking at the county manager's proposed budget at the time, did not have any advertisement or increase. But what I told at the time on the county board publicly, and I said to my colleagues, my sense and what I'm hearing from the community is now is not the time. People are getting laid off, they're losing their jobs. We need to pause and reflect, and we're asking people to buckle up and tighten their bootstraps a little bit. I think we as a county can at least do that as well in the short term, given that so many other of our constituents are hurting and they're in need. So that was my thought. It was something that I was hearing in the community as I traveled around, and ultimately we did not advertise, right? So I'm very appreciative of my colleagues on the board, and seeing that. But we'll see what the future holds in a couple years down the road.
Now, you had a number of different meetings, and your other board members heard from the community. At least I believe they did, and they reconsidered. So what were those meetings like? What were people saying? Were they basically describing what you mentioned, that they were being hurt badly?
Well, yeah, I think the overall consensus was that, especially for our, folks, our single-family homeowners, folks in the community, those are paying taxes. The uncertainty and the fear, they were not ready and not able to take that next step, and felt that holding back was just the best way forward. We also heard from our businesses, right, about the meals tax. We did go up 1 penny in our meals tax, all things considered. We haven't done that since the early 90s. But, we have to really, as members of the county board, I take this job seriously and really be the pulse of the community. And so we had a lot of engagement. You can imagine after the advertisement, many 2x2 meetings with organizations, people emailing us, and several email campaigns. So that works, right? And I tell folks, engagement works with your county officials. And so in this case, we saw the results. We were able to put forward a really tight budget. We'll probably come back in a few months and revisit some of those areas if need be. Federal funding, of course, is tied to a lot of our budget, not an overall majority of it. But there's some uncertainty there on and if some of that federal funding is going to come into Arlington for some of our programming we've had heretofore. So we shall see.
You mentioned the meals tax.
Mm-hmm.
You did approve an increase there.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the property tax.
Yeah.
What was the rationale for making that increase?
Well, we spoke with a number of individuals. The chamber, of course, was not in support of it, and I applaud the chamber and others for looking out for our businesses. But what we see in Arlington, not having raised that tax since the early 90s, that a lot of folks that come and patronize our businesses in and around this area, especially in the restaurant industry, tend to be folks who aren't in Arlington, right? So all things considered, was it perfect? No, but we thought at the end of the day, that was a really good, a decent course of action. The General Assembly has given us, granted us authority to go all the way up to 6 cents. We're right there in the middle. So I think for the time, all things considered, everything's going, increasing with prices. We did a really good thing here. Wasn't perfect, but it came across well.
Okay. Turn to a slightly different topic. During your campaign, you expressed support for the end of single-family only zoning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is this issue so important in Arlington?
That's a good one. So you're talking about a time when I was it started back when I was the president of the local NAACP, an organization that I grew along with many others from 100 folks, well over 1,000. And to understand zoning in Arlington, you also have to understand the history of zoning. And I'm a single-family homeowner in Arlington, bought a house in 2009. But between redlining and many other factors, what has happened in exclusionary zoning, only certain types of homes were being able to be built across Arlington. And so, I was supportive and still rather supportive of building diverse housing across Arlington. Right now, of course, there's a lawsuit about EHO, so we're not at liberty to discuss much of that. But I will always be in full support of diversifying our housing stock in Arlington. I believe, we should be able to build not only near our metro corridors and build high, but we have areas across Arlington that are duly suited for different types of housing. So those are areas that I want to continue to explore, and I think that's what EHO attempted to do. A lot of folks have argued that, hey, JD, it's not going to make housing any cheaper, right? Arlington in of itself is a very high cost of living area. And I have not seen property values decrease in the past 25 years of being here. But what we do know is that everyone doesn't want a single family home. Everyone doesn't want to, continue to rent. Some people want a smaller footprint, right? And that's okay, right? And I think giving them that options to the extent we can is beneficial for the community.
Mm-hmm. I get the impression that you believe that is more in line with the diversity of the type of families that you have in Arlington.
Sure.
And maybe, just maybe, it makes it more affordable for senior citizens as well. But tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Well, Arlington, we just had our 2025 report that came in about our racial makeup in Arlington, and we're about 40% minority population. A lot of folks don't know that, and a county that's hovering right at 240-some thousand people. And we also have to understand that we have many different socioeconomic dynamics within Arlington. We have our senior citizens, many that want to age in place, some that may want to downsize and move into a smaller footprint, some that may want to, some folks that may want to build and have an ADU onto their accessory dwelling unit, onto their home. So I think, yes, given the scale of socioeconomic dynamics in Arlington and where we're headed, I think it is true that when we scale different types of housing, everything's not going to be a $2 million house. Are we going to go down and have $400,000, $500,000? That's tough, right? But all things considered, given where we are, we need to look at different alternatives to how we build housing. We have a certain number of committed affordable units through our affordable housing partners, but there's also alternatives we can look at down the road.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, we are going to have to pause our conversation for a short break. So please stay with us, you out there in the audience, when we return with a bit more of our conversation with board member J.D. Spann, as we return with more of our show, Inside Scoop.
Nice going, Spencer! I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We? Go to the door, ask for the ball back.
Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Remember me and you're well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Keep smiling, keep shining.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident, and we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about freak nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Yeah.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward.
I'm the awkward silence.
You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing, like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
I'm the host, Russell Brooks, joined by my guest, Arlington County Board Member Julius D. Spain Sr. Let's continue.
All right.
As the former head of the NAACP in Arlington, I imagine you have opinions on the anti-DEI campaign being waged by the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
As a local government official, what impact is it having on Arlington County's policies?
Right. Well, let me say this. Appreciate you bringing up my past in the NAACP. I'm also trained in education as far as DEIA through George Mason University Executive Education. I'll tell you this much. We in Arlington remain steadfast as it relates to the principles, the core principles of DEI within our workforce and our support mechanisms to our county personnel and to our citizens. What makes Arlington special is that it is welcoming to everyone, regardless of your race, color, creed, religion, gender, socioeconomic dynamic. So we aren't wavering. We aren't removing any DEI programming within Arlington County government. In fact, we may build out and enhance that. We have Pride Month that's coming up right around the corner. So we encourage everyone to come to Arlington, be involved. We will be recognizing Pride Month. So then that's what's beautiful about Arlington, right? And a lot of communities across America. I understand what's going on with folks taking words and acronyms and trying to remove historical aspects and meaning to what it really means. But DEI has been around for, since the Civil Rights Movement, to be quite honest. And it's good for business, it's good for our community. And again, and everything we do is merit-based. So this thing about, because of the color of your skin or your sexual orientation, you've been selected, or no, everyone has a fair shot, right? And that's what we're talking about when you talk about DEIA, just making sure no one is left behind. And when everyone is treated fairly across the board. And we're doing that in Arlington. I'm so proud, not only of our county manager and the staff, but also my colleagues on the board, because we're in full support of DEIA in Arlington.
One of the dilemmas that the Trump administration has sort of placed on those who are supportive of DEIA is forcing them to make a choice. If they continue to support these policies or programs, federal funding can or will be taken away. Some communities are grappling with that and are basically making the decision that they will sign, they will do whatever they have to do to keep the federal dollars flowing. If Arlington County is forced to make such a decision, will the community continue to support DEIA policies?
So I'm going to get out in front of my colleagues on the board, right, or any decision that may be made down the road. But what I will tell you, based on what I just stated, we are at a point in Arlington whereby not only are we somewhat self-governing, there is federal funding that come in, but we're going to follow the law, okay? Bottom line up front, we're going to follow the law and the statutes. So with that being said, again, I understand that there's many school systems, and I know I'm not talking about school here. There's other municipalities and counties across this great nation that are battling with this decision. And a lot of these decisions, quite frankly, are going to be taken to court. And because we believe wholeheartedly here in Arlington that we are following the law, right, as prescribed. And again, that's what we're going to continue to do, is follow the law.
Okay. I know you're not on the school board, but
I had 3 children that went through APS, Arlington Public Schools.
All right, excellent. I suspect the school board, though, is dealing with that particular issue. They are having to sign documents by the Department of Education, or what's left of it, to force them to follow the DEI policies advocated by the Trump administration, or maybe anti-DEI policies might be more accurate. Again, you're not on the school board, but what choice is Arlington County making in that respect?
Yeah, well, I have the utmost confidence in my colleagues over on the school board that they're going to do the right thing. We tend to communicate a lot when it comes to programs and services for our youth, whether that's before school, during school, after school. And let me just be quite honest and frank about it. I don't see a scenario whereby members of our school board will waver. They are there to ensure that our children receive the best education that we have to offer. And that's why Arlington has some of the best public school systems in America. Again, regardless of your race, regardless of your creed, religion, everyone deserves to get a good education. And I'm so proud of everyone over at APS, because DEIA and that conversation, I think, is just, it's a distractor, right? We're here to educate our students and get them ready for this new generation, this generation of innovation, digital transformation, automation, AI. That's what we're doing. I think we can't take our eye off the ball, and they have my full support. When I ran even for the county board, I because we have a cost sharing agreement between the county board and the school board, I am committed to our students. 3 of my children went through Arlington Public Schools. They're all adults now. I love our school system. I love our teachers. I love our staff. And so I am one member of the county board that's going to always be there to have their back, regardless of what happens with the federal funding.
Okay. We're in another election year.
We're in another election. Every year there's an election in Virginia.
Absolutely. When you ran, you made it through this ranked choice voting process that Arlington has instituted. How did that pan out?
So, let me say this up front. I'm a supporter of ranked choice voting, but I also say to folks that there's a wrong way to do the right thing. What we have done, and this is the good news story, in this recent budget, we have allocated monies to go out and educate and inform the entire electorate about ranked choice voting. What I found is that the nuances associated with ranked choice voting, a lot of people aren't used to it. A lot of folks are going in, and you tell them, hey, there's one seat open, there's 4 or 5 candidates, we need you to rank them 1 through 5. And folks are looking at me like the deer in the headlight look. Like, what are you talking about, JD? I just want to go and vote for one person. So there's, again, whether you're having 2 open seats or 1 open seat, I think it's going to take some time, right? Especially in some of our communities that aren't used to voting in such a way. So we're committed on the county board to putting in the resources. It's going to take some time. This is not, the county board adopted this ranked choice voting, but some of the feedback we're seeing, we're getting, or have received, shows that there's a lot of work for us to be done. So it's kind of split, right? Some people all for it, but the thing about equity, back to DEI, right, is as a county board member, and I'm looking at the analytics and I'm looking at the numbers of who's participating in some of these polls and what they're saying, it is very clear to me that the folks that are engaging, right, and probably understand it and have support of it are from a certain segment of Arlington, right? And so it's incumbent upon myself and my colleagues to understand that and ensure we do more in other areas of Arlington, make sure everyone understands that if we want this to be successful. Otherwise, you risk it being one of those things where if it seems or appear too challenging, folks won't show up, right? And voting should be easy. We should not make it hard. A lot of folks that are bright and they do this for a living, they'll say, it's easy. Well, it's easy because this is what you do. For most folks, they're just used to going in and say, I want to vote for 1 or 2 people and that's it. I know what I want to do. But it gives folks options and it's going to take some time. So I'm not in full support right now of it becoming mandated in Arlington for general elections. But until we get to a threshold to where folks, I feel they understand and we got good feedback, then I'll be on board.
All right. So I read that when you were running for office, one of the goals that you had was to see that more people or more voices, maybe different voices, were heard in the political system in Arlington County. So I'm curious as to whether you believe ranked choice voting is helping or hurting more people be heard.
So we're unique in Arlington right now. We have a 5-member board, and I'm the only candidate, I'm the only elected official that has gone through not only a primary election with ranked choice voting, but also a general election. Ranked choice voting has been told to a lot of folks that it is a great way to get minority candidates elected. But I ran for the same seat in 2023, and I was not elected. Now, there's many variables, there's many issues. Political ideology, I think, I'm aligned to some of the folks that got elected, of course, but the whole premise that it's better for minority candidates, that hasn't been proven yet. And again, we're just getting started in Arlington. We're looking at our form of government perhaps down the road and other things. So the jury's still out in Arlington on that. I got elected off ranked choice voting, right? But I believe in large part I got elected on ranked choice voting because I also put in a lot of work. In the general election, we have 60 neighborhoods in Arlington. I won every precinct in the November election. And I got, elections about getting out and meeting people where they are as well, right?
You said these different ideologies. What are the ideologies?
I mean, I grew up in South Carolina. Right outside Myrtle Beach, down in the country. So, things are a little different in a little country town of Bucksville where I'm at. Then you can go to Conway and then Myrtle Beach. Same thing in Arlington, right? Whether you're on the, the central side, the metro corridor where everything's happening, a lot of apartments, a lot of renters. You go to the northern side where you have a lot of green space, single family homes, nice and quiet. South side, a lot of mixed different use. These communities take on their own somewhat of a culture and ideology, and you have to respect that. And I do, right? Because some folks have been here all their lives. I run across people who have, 90 years old who's been in Arlington, and they've watched it change. I've been here since 2009 in Arlington, and I've seen it change like night and day. But it's a great place to live, one of the best places to live in America.
I'm sure it is. It's time for another short break, so please stay tuned as we continue to discuss the issues facing Arlington County with our distinguished guest, J.D. Spain, when we return with more of our show, Inside Scoop. It's been a great conversation, sir.
Oh, yeah.
So I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing a pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school.
Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
I'm the host, Russell Brooks, with tonight's guest, Julius D. Spain Sr. of the Arlington County Board. Let's continue. You mentioned that Arlington County has a very diverse population. And due to the Trump administration's deportation policies, there seems to be a great deal of fear in the Latino community in Arlington County. What is the county board doing to try to reduce some of that fear and concern?
Right. Thank you for raising that issue. And, in a community like Arlington, I see it each and every day. And as a husband of a person who's from the Hispanic race for nearly 33 years, I have a lot of friends, a lot of family, and this is personal. The fear is real, okay? We as a county board have a trust policy that was put in place long before I showed up on the board, but it gives guidelines on what we will and will not do in cooperation per se with federal agencies and authorities. Arlington is not an extension of the federal immigration authority, right? So we have gotten out in the community. We have talked to key stakeholders to let them know, hey, our police officers, our sheriffs, our deputies, we're here to serve you, and we are not in so much collaborating with federal authorities per se. We're staying within the confines of the law, right? Still yet, that doesn't mean it's okay with some folks in the community, right? And I think we as a county board will carefully consider the current measures, the policies we have in place, and see if there's additional things we may need to do as a county board. But again, I don't want to get out in front of my colleagues, but the threat is real. I mean, you can turn on the TV, you can look on your social media, and think about a city near you, something that is going on each and every day with our immigrants. I call it this federal overreach and this fear that they're trying to invoke in many of our communities. It should not be tolerated, and is not, in my opinion, in keeping with what our people expect of our federal government. So again, we're going to work hard to protect everyone in Arlington because we are a welcoming and inviting place for everyone.
Let's go into a little more in depth on that trust policy.
Mm-hmm.
As I understand it, that trust policy does not permit the Arlington County Police to report an individual to ICE unless one, they're involved in certain types of activity, gang activity, human trafficking, terrorism, or maybe they're wanted for a violent felony. Secondly, they need to get permission from a supervisor to notify ICE, and they're required to document that decision.
Yeah.
If that's all correct, nevertheless, some activists believe that that policy needs to be revised or reformed. What's your position on that?
Great question. As I stated a short time ago, I believe the time is ripe. I've mentioned this publicly at our county board meetings that I am fully open, right, to revisiting not only the trust policy in its entirety, but more specifically Section 7 and the areas that you just outlined about when shall a member of our police department contact ICE. This moment that we're in right now is unprecedented. And so again, I don't want to get in front of any public discussion or legal discussions we're going to have as a board, but I've said it openly. I believe it's time to look at the trust policy again, revisit it, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think in due time, given the moment that we're in, the community will be able to hear from all of us on the board as it relates to this particular policy. I would just only say, Remember, I used to serve in the NAACP as the president. And I am one whereby I believe in rooting out discriminatory factors, and that no one should be coming under fire in our community, and that everyone's civil rights and liberties should be protected. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Let's see what times has in store for us.
Mm-hmm. Now you're facing pressure for that position, not only from the federal government these days, but also the state government takes issue with communities that seemingly do not support ICE's mission or the federal policies. Is Arlington County receiving any pushback from the state authorities?
Let me say this. In all due respect to the governor's mansion, the state authorities, the attorney general, they have a role to play as it relates to the Commonwealth of Virginia. I am not aware of any anything going on between our county and the governor's office. But I will say this. We will continue to protect and serve the citizens of Arlington. There's many nuances associated with dealing with ICE or any federal agency. And if we look closely, it's not just ICE. And I remind people, the governor and the administration are trying to deputize state troopers. And I've heard about bounty hunters, and I've heard about everything under the sun. I don't want this to take over and be a distraction, right, of what really needs to be happening here in Arlington. Our people need to be able to live their lives, our citizens, and move to and fro freely like they've done before January 2025, without cause of fear that they're going to be wrapped up and taken somewhere. And we're going to continue to protect people here in Arlington within the law, right? You're talking about kidnapping. We talked about, folks like that, murderers. Yes, of course. In the eyes of the law, those people need to, either be arrested or taken into custody, right? We're not talking about protecting folks like that. But there's a wrong way to do the right thing. And this fear meddling in the communities, and this is fear. I'm a combat veteran. I served in a combat zone for 9 months. I've been to Mogadishu, Somalia many years ago. I'm just going to say this, I'm not afraid, okay? But our people are. And so as long as I have breath in my body and I'm here as an elected official, I'm going to do my best within the letter of law to protect them, and expect our folks that are in uniform in Arlington to do the same.
Speaking of that police-community relations, it stands to reason that police will be handicapped in their ability to protect citizens when the community is concerned about them, afraid of them, not willing to communicate with them because of that fear. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Are you seeing a diminution of the communication between the community and the police department?
That's a great question, but not in Arlington, because I applaud our county manager, I applaud our chief of police. They've been very proactive, and include our sheriff, Jose Quiro. They've been very proactive, along with our law enforcement officers, to extending themselves in the community. They have flyers that they're showing. When you see someone, this is what an Arlington County police officer looks like. They've continued with their community engagement platform. So all is well. So I don't see this community per se in fear of our folks. We're just reminding them, because we want folks to be able to call 911 when they need to call 911, right? We don't want them to fear, they're calling 911 and then an ICE agent or someone else is showing up. But there's been some bad tactics that are going on that have occurred in Arlington in the past month or so, and we're aware of it, right? But our police officers should be commended. They're here to serve. And we want our citizens to know it's okay in Arlington to pick up the phone, to call the non-emergency line, to call 911, should you need help, aid, or assistance. And ACPD, we will show up. They will show up, all right? And you don't have to risk, someone to call in the federal agencies, right? And alike. So we're okay. But I can't say the same, I would think, for many other municipalities and counties across America. I know they're going through it.
Mm-hmm. I know some communities have restrictions on how their county employees will interact
Yes.
with ICE or other federal authorities when they come to a school or when they come to a library, possibly to arrest someone, detain someone, etc. What's the policy in Arlington County?
Right, that's a great question. So our school system has a policy in place. Our educators and staff have been trained up, and to include our county staff, on the do's, what you shall do and what you should do should someone come, right, who presents themselves as a federal law enforcement officer. Again, I won't get into how that's broken down, but whether that's a judicial warrant, not just an administrative warrant, there's certain document ID, that has to be presented by an individual. So we have protocol in place now in Arlington. Should someone show up to a government building or to a school inquiring or wanting to speak to someone about immigration, right? So though that protocol is in place, and our staff and our police department and our school employees have been trained up on it. And we're monitoring it.
Great. What's being done to communicate those facts to the community? I think some non-governmental organizations are handing out cards to know your rights, and that sort of thing, but is the county government doing something similar to avoid things such as parents who don't feel comfortable sending their kids to school?
Yeah,
right now.
That is sad. Look, we have a number, and that's the beauty of Arlington being 26 square miles. We have a number of nonprofits who go to bat and who can pass on some of this great information about know your rights. They have these programs that are going on in Arlington County government. Arlington, we as a government entity also have a myriad of programs that go on for our citizens. But we hold our nonprofits in high regard because in Arlington, I can tell you that we've already had a couple of Know Your Rights seminars that have gone on in strategic places within Arlington where we know could be hot spots for federal agencies. So outreach is important. Community engagement is important. I'm helping also along those lines. We have those little cards to give out to folks to let them know if they have a problem, who to call. But we're doing what we need to do in Arlington County.
That is great to hear, sir. Once again, we must take a short break and then we will continue with tonight's very interesting discussion when we return with more with our special guest, more on our show, Inside Scoop.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mamas. I think the whole world's addicted to the drama, only attracted to things that'll bring the trauma. Yeah, madness is what you demonstrate, and that's exactly how anger works and operates. Man, you gotta have love just to set it straight. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love, y'all.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. When you practice what you preach, but you turn it over.
Ma'am, you forgot your purse.
Oh, you don't know how worried I was. Thank you very much.
Honesty. Pass it on.
Nice move, kid. Donut?
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Yes, welcome back to Inside Scoop. Tonight we're discussing the challenges facing Arlington County with County Board Member Julius D. Spain Sr. Let's continue. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, but I would be remiss if I didn't raise the recent violence, principally by teens, at the Fashion Center in Pentagon City. What's going on there?
Thank you for the question. I happened to go there the very next day after that event had occurred. And it's not the first time that we've had some youth involved in snatching, fights, things going on at the Fashion Center. In fact, I was just there this past weekend. What I think is going on, and I said this in openly in an interview a few weeks back, we have a mix of youth that are coming not just from Arlington, but from around different areas within the Northern Virginia area. But I also believe there are some societal aspects whereby a lack of programming, a lack of different levels of service to provide these youth need to be enhanced. And it's not just Arlington, okay? And again, I'm not passing the buck on this, but some of these youth that are involved, again, are from all over the DMV region. I'll tell you what we're trying to do here in Arlington. We are focusing on building out robust teen and youth programming, especially for our middle school and our high schoolers. This last budget cycle, in that budget, we have allocated and talked about the nearly $1.8 million that we've set aside, and we're working with our staff and others to put up programming for our youth, after school programming, weekend programming, workforce type programming, skills, trade. Look, I learned something a long time ago growing up down south. And God bless my mom and dad who are still with me. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. and look, I don't know why they do it, but it's not good for business. It's not good for, folks who want to take their family to one of the best malls in the DMV and shop. But, when you got gunshots going off and you got fighting going on, that's not Arlington. And honestly, that's not really our youth. They need alternatives to just hanging out in the mall. And I believe it's incumbent upon leaders, not only in Arlington, but across the region, to find ways to do more. And guess what? Government's not going to be able to solve all the problems, in my opinion. We're going to have to work closely with our nonprofits. Some of these folks where the rubber meets the road, they know the communities better than we do. But we got to give them the resources to be successful. Because what happens is these kids get involved in these type of things, and the next thing you know, they're teenagers, there's juveniles, they end up in a system. They don't autocorrect, and the next thing you know, they're in prison, or it end up hurting somebody. And this has happened right before our eyes. So, working with our businesses in fashion, in the Fashion Center, working with ACPD, the police department, and private security to others, to make sure we have the right size of security in these places to serve as a deterrent. When you have a lack of deterrence or things in place, then anything can happen. I'm not saying this, having officers or police officers or security officers is going to stop it all, but we know there's a lack thereof.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Are there things that the mall management also should be doing?
So I've not spoken with the mall management team, but I know they're exploring. I was in there this past weekend, and I can tell there was a military expo going on. I can tell there is a good number of private security in the space. And I was right there in the food court at an event. So I'm sure this is on the radar for management, because, management understands if businesses don't feel safe, especially a lot of our jewelers and other brand name companies are in there, if they don't feel safe, if they feel at risk, they're going to take their stores elsewhere, and we can't afford to let that happen. So, again, I think it goes back to programs for youth.
Sure,
have to do more, especially for our teenagers.
And how has the community responded to these incidents? What are they calling for?
That's what they're calling for. I've spoken to a number of folks in the community who are asking for us to continue to do more to expedite some of the programs that we are kind of lining up for our youth after school. I think, here we go, this is happening on a weekend, so we're talking about more programs on the weekends. But the touch points, again, what's going on, all of these youth are not from Arlington.
Sure.
They're coming from Fairfax, they're coming from Prince William, Prince George, DC, Alexandria, Loudoun. They're coming from all over, and they're converging. They're being young kids. Now, but they're also doing things that are illegal, and we can't tolerate that. And so we got to get in front of that. And I believe the mall is taking the necessary steps, at least the fashion center is in management. And again, our police department and team may know more than what I know, but I'm sure they're taking this seriously.
Sure. Now, if the teens are coming from this variety of jurisdictions, in addition to whatever law enforcement is doing in any or all of these jurisdictions, maybe it also is going to require some coordination, some collaboration on the part of the political leadership in all these jurisdictions as well. Are they communicating? Are they collaborating on what might be necessary to try to bring this under control?
Yeah. So to be transparent, the county board, Arlington County Board, we have not had a central conversation about Fashion Center, Pentagon in and of itself, but I know that both the chair and the vice chair of our board are in constant communication with our regional partners. Some of many you just spoke about as far as the areas, maybe that has come up, but we have not, put together a task force to address it. The issue, again, I understand it's been going on. This type of incidents have been going on for a number of years. It's time to do something. So there's probably more to follow and updates to come, given what just happened at Fashion Center, which made local news, and it's not good at all, and it can't continue, cannot continue. We have too many great things going on in Arlington.
Do you think there's something that attracts the teens to Fashion Center in particular?
I'm not sure. All I know is, there's a variety of stores. It's outside. It's you're out of the elements. Summer is coming, so it's going to be hot, or whether it's cold or indoors. There's plenty of places to eat. There's actually places where you can get good music and listen. It's wide open, so it's just a place for kids to congregate, right? And I think we need to give them an alternative. I was coming up. It was the playground. It was ride your bikes. We just need to. I don't know, do more.
Sure.
And do more is really plain, but our community is ready in Arlington to take this on. We just got to make sure we give them the resources to do it, because government cannot solve this alone.
Some communities have imposed curfews on teens. They've had similar type problems at the National Harbor, as an example. That was their course of action, to impose curfews during, I guess, certain hours, maybe on certain days, weekends, whatever it happens to be. Is that something that would be considered in Arlington?
I'm only speaking for myself. Right now, I can tell you, I don't think it's risen to the point to where we want to implement curfews. I would have to have a lot of analysis done on that. I don't want to start getting into the lane of restricting folks from exercising their free liberties. I think we have to do more to put up deterrents. But, and I would hope and pray that it doesn't get to a point to where we have to implement curfews and people can't move around freely in a mall. But I get it, what happened in National Harbor. That has not come to the forefront in Arlington yet, and I hope it never does.
Now, we started off talking about your 100-day mark and what has surprised you, that sort of thing. As you look at your next 100 days, What would you want to accomplish over that period of time?
Right. Well, they say all politics are local. And I say I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant. What's important to me both locally is ensuring that our citizens feel protected, that they feel heard, and that I am doing the good work for them on the county board. That aside, we have some serious elections here in Arlington. In Virginia, we have our governor's race, we have a lieutenant governor's race, and we have a attorney general's race. And I am doing my best, given that we invoked and brought up some things from the governor's mansion early in this conversation, to make sure that we get the right people in office in November. That is important. All eyes on Virginia. So making sure we protect our folks here at home, making sure we have the resources in place to help those that are in need, our federal employees, our contractors, our youth, our folks in the LGBTQ plus community, our persons with disabilities, all those folks who are under attack now by a tyrant, right? That's my job right now as a public servant, an elected leader, a combat veteran of the Marine Corps, is to fight on their behalf. And that's what I'm doing each and every day. And I'm glad that I'm doing that. Again, divine intervention. It was meant for me to be here at this moment. And I'm loving every day of it.
Excellent. Are those issues being heard or in the current campaign? Right now it's Democrat versus Democrat in the primaries. So maybe that's a little distorted. But what are going to be the main issues in the general election?
I think, so we, in the general election here in the Commonwealth, I believe what we're going to be, one, we're going to make history by having the first woman governor, regardless which way it goes, there's going to be a woman governor. We also need to take on and figure out with this lapse of federal funding that I think we're seeing, how is the state going to step in and be able to help aid and assist with some of these services with our schools, right? When we're going to, some of our programming that we're not going to have from the federal government. So it's all hands on deck. So the message is put people in office who are going to make sure our quality of life doesn't deteriorate. And that's the alligator closest to the boat to me, right? It's not about, what's going to happen in 2026 and 2027. We need to look right now because Virginia, all eyes on Virginia.
I'm sure they will be.
Yeah.
We've had a great discussion tonight.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
But we are out of time.
Oh.
Now let me thank my guest, Julius D. Spain Sr., JD. Please come back soon for another discussion. And as always, thank you for tuning in this evening, and please join us again next week for another edition of Inside Scoop.
Thank you very much.